No, I am stuck. We are here to have this conversation. I am stuck and I need your help.
Or you still feel like coaches need their own dedicated content?
Again, I don't know. This is why I'm asking.
So what's the actual question underneath all that, the one the coaches keep dodging?
Like, you're getting close, but all of those titles and examples that you just gave are not things that I reckon people click on.
Fair call, and yeah, you're right, I gave you copywriter mush dressed up as insight. What actually works on Instagram is
That was the first useful thing you've said. Same time next week? Before we start, I want you to know that over the last several years, I've spent tens of thousands of dollars on coaches. And I still can't find the answers to some of the questions I have. The last several coaches that I've tried to pay just for a call have turned me down. So I've come to you.
Lackey, we've covered this ground a few times now. No coaches, no ghosting. I'm still here and happy to listen.
Shut up, bro. I'm doing a YouTube intro.
Gotcha. You're recording a hook for the video, not actually stuck.
I am stuck. No, this is why we are here to have this conversation. I am stuck and I need your help.
Okay, sorry, my bad for jumping to conclusions there. I'm listening properly now, no interruptions. Just tell me what's actually going on.
I've been a coach for half of my life, 16 years of it. I started with junior athletes coaching throws, as I was one of the better throwers in Australia when I was younger. And I took that passion for coaching and coaching national champions before I was 25 into coaching everyday people, because I figured, like, if I can do it with kids, like, as I've gotten older, I've realized that I don't really feel that much different, and it really changed my perspective of, like, what most people want is just good training. They just want their training to be part of their life. They don't want their health to let them down.
Yeah, that's a really solid through line. 16 years, elite juniors to national champions, and then this realization that everyday people just want training that actually fits their life and doesn't let their health down. So what's the actual question underneath all that, the one the coaches keep dodging?
I've been a great in-person coach. I coach my mum. I coach everyday people to do amazing things. But now I'm looking to the future, and I believe that I need to open a gym. I need to open a space, and not just open a gym, but I need to have the infrastructure, both online and the systems in place before opening a gym, so I don't run it into the ground. And part of me needs to be a coach for the people, and part of me needs to develop the next generation of coaches, because I still see so many coaches getting everyday people that just want to get healthy and giving them hypertrophy and bodybuilding programs, because I feel like that's all PT school ever taught us.
Right, so there's actually a few big things bundled in there. The gym, the online systems, coaching people directly, and training up other coaches properly instead of the bodybuilding template nonsense. Which of those is the piece you're actually stuck on right now, the one keeping you up at night?
Honestly, I need to start building the systems, and I need to be able to work towards my long-term goals, which would require me to be a coach of coaches, a coach and a leader of community and a leader of a system. And I need to be able to have the coaching systems in place to bring the quality of service that I believe in, and the type of coaching which I think matters for everyday people, as well as being a coach for people right now. And I don't know how to blend the messaging for just trying to give everyday people like a little nudge in the right direction, so that they can make the lifestyle that they are trying to build sustainable, because it's always been about 6-week challenges, 12-week transformations, who can do it the fastest, who can do it the best. And I honestly think that for the most part, right, bar some like disease and genetic factors that influence some of those things, I think for the most part we've got the basic transformations down pat. The problem is what happens next. People aren't thinking about what happens after, and I'm here to answer that question.
Okay, I think I actually hear the question now. It's not gym versus online or systems versus coaching. It's how do you build a business and a message around sustainability and what happens after the transformation in an industry that only knows how to sell the transformation itself. Is that the real knot? How do you market and structure something built on long term when everyone's conditioned to buy fast?
Yeah, I guess that's right. Because the generic training modalities has a shelf life. You can keep training the same methodology as long as your weakest link doesn't hold you back. But then without phases of going through focusing on developing those weak links, then people are always going to hit a wall, and either they're going to hit like physical breakdown where their body can't handle the increasing stimulus because of those things, or they're going to hit a mental breakdown where they're not aware or they're not able to be aware of the thing that is holding them back, which whatever that is, it might be a consistency, it might be a motivation thing because progress slows. And so I believe that as everyday people, we need to, like, I'm not saying a 12-week transformation is bad, but I'm saying that we need multiple 12-week transformations all the time, ongoing for years, to get ourselves into a place where we're really proud of the person that we've become, as well as the things that we can now do. And the body that we get and the mind and the resilience that we build is all part of it. I believe that we'll still get the body, but focusing on aesthetics for the sake of aesthetics probably is not the best outcome for an everyday person, because what about every other factor which, if focused on, will lead them to an aesthetic, healthy body anyway?
That's basically the RCTA thing you've already been building into your content. Weak links, mobility, conditioning, confidence. It's the same philosophy just now at business scale. So practically, are you stuck on how to say this so it sells, or stuck on how to build the actual system, phases, coaches, curriculum that delivers it long term?
How can I start to deliver a message that is presentable on Instagram and YouTube, that speaks to not just everyday people, because they really need this information? Because I believe it's less about the programming and it's more about the mindsets and philosophies that people are building and creating that will long outlast anything tangible that you might build in 6 weeks. Is the different beliefs that you build along the way. But how can I start to deliver that in YouTube? How can I start to deliver such a more complex message in through Instagram? And how can I start to attract, or do I need to attract one audience or the other?
Right, I think the real answer is you don't split the audience, you split the depth. Instagram's job is to make someone feel seen in one line, something like you've done the 12-week transformation 3 times and you're still starting over. That's the wound, not the philosophy. Then YouTube is where you're allowed to actually teach the philosophy, because people who click a 15-minute video have already opted into depth. So Instagram sells the feeling, YouTube sells the framework, and both funnel into the same person, the same returning to something lost message you already landed on for EDA. The mistake most coaches make is trying to teach the mindset shift in a reel. Nobody's ready for that in 8 seconds. They're ready to feel a nerve hit. Does that distinction between platforms as depth levels rather than different audiences feel right to you?
Well, not really. So what then should I be talking about at that Instagram level to maybe speak to the problems that we all face? When on YouTube, like, obviously we can go into more depth. Obviously we can explore those deeper philosophies, but if I'm only posting the surface layer to that on Instagram, then what is going to interest people to go one way or the other to eventually, like, the end goal is to get these different sources of traffic and to put them into what I would call a preseason, where they work on the fundamental skills and abilities so that they at least can set themselves up for a really long go at whatever training modality or pathway that they want to pursue for a while.
Fair, surface versus deep was too vague. What actually works on Instagram is naming the specific moment people are in right now, not the philosophy behind it, the moment itself. So instead of teaching you need phases to address weak links, you show the wall. Something like a post that says you've done 3 12-week transformations and you're fitter than you've ever been. So why does it feel exactly the same as when you started? That's not philosophy. That's a mirror. People stop scrolling because you've described their Tuesday, not because you've taught them a framework. Other angles in that same vein, calling out the thing nobody says out loud, like the fitness industry will never tell you this, but your transformation was never the goal. It was supposed to be the warm-up, or diagnostic style content. 3 signs your training has plateaued, and it's not your program's fault, where you're basically pointing at consistency, mobility, or confidence without naming the whole RCTA system. The point is, Instagram's job isn't to teach the philosophy, it's to make someone go, wait, that's exactly what's happening to me. And the curiosity about why creates the click through to YouTube or into preseason. Does that feel more usable?
Like, you're getting close, but all of those titles and examples that you just gave are not things that I reckon people click on. In fact, I see that as a generic AI generated post that I believe people are ignoring. And I can generate good yap. I can talk about this stuff all day, but distilling it down to a succinct problem that people have so that, as you said, you want them to see the problem that they have and feel seen. But I don't think that you're actually seeing people. And that's one of the limitations of you being an AI rather than a coach that has solved these problems. But let's say that you were put into the boots of, let's call it Alex Hormozi and James Smith. And if they were to give advice on this, how would they go about talking to an audience that needs to hear this stuff? Because they're very much problem-oriented first. And so whether I'm talking with everyday people or coaches, what problem should I start to talk about that they feel like that, is just frustrating for them? Because if it was me, I felt like when I hit the wall of my bodybuilding, I felt like that it was almost empty, that when I was training hypertrophy only, that it was empty and there has to be more. And the thing that I've built is the more.
Fair call. And yeah, you're right. I gave you copywriter mush dressed up as insight. Let's use your actual story instead of a template. The problem isn't you feel like you've hit a wall. That's soft. The real problem, stated the way James Smith would say it, bluntly and slightly accusatory, is something like this. You got the body. Nothing changed. You're leaner, stronger, better abs than you've had in years, and you still feel exactly as hollow as the day you started. That's the wound. Not plateau, not consistency, emptiness after achievement, because that's what actually happened to you, and it's what happens to almost everyone who trains for aesthetics alone. And nobody ever admits it out loud because it sounds ungrateful. For everyday people, the line is basically, you hit your goal weight, and you're still not happy. So what was the point? For coaches specifically, it's sharper still. Something like, you've helped 100 clients transform their bodies, and you still don't know what to tell them once they get there, because nobody taught you that either. Same wound, 2 mirrors. One says, I got what I wanted and it wasn't enough. The other says I gave people what they wanted and it wasn't enough. Does that land closer to what you're after, or you want me to push it even blunter?
That was the first useful thing you've said. But while we're on topic, why not push it and make it blunter for me? Make it blunter, not plentiful.
All right, blunter. For everyday people, try you're in the best shape of your life, and you still check the mirror, hoping to feel different, and you don't. So when does this actually start working? Or, harsher again, you didn't fix anything, you just got tired in a smaller body. For coaches, it's even more direct, something like, you've built 100 six-packs and not one lasting person, or you can write a killer program and you still don't know what to say. when the client hits their goal and starts crying because they still feel like nothing. And the sharpest version, the one that probably stings the most for both audiences, is just the goal was never the goal. And you built your whole personality around a body that was only ever supposed to be a side effect. Want me to keep pushing further, or does one of these actually feel like the nerve?
I think we're getting there. But I think that with those statements, and I might be overcomplicating it, so feel free to correct me if you feel like that's necessary. But how can we start to phrase this in a way that they are going through the stages of problem awareness to like solution aware, which is where the system comes in. And I think like right now, I don't have this coach's product built. Right now, I have an okay version of a product built for everyday people. But I want to build an offer and then be able to market that to everyday people, and then be able to market that to, then be able to market those systems to coaches. And so where therefore should I start by finalizing the offer of like, if these people have these problems, first, I guess, I need to make sure that the online version, and in the gym, of course, version of the base offer produces the tangible results of longevity, which we do have at the moment, and therefore will also increase the likelihood a coach will sign on for the longevity component. And so we can shift away from this transformation first, this aesthetic transformation first mindset, and go into, you always have to be pursuing something. There is no end to the journey of health. And we need to educate people that you need to be pushing hard at the thing that you are doing now, but it's okay to change priorities. It's okay to work towards something different. And you might do the same thing in different ways for a few years, and you may become in the top 1% of that. But knowing that you don't have to push to be the top 1% if you're not aligned with that anymore, and that there are other options, is super important for people to know, so they don't fall off the wagon in the pursuit of something that they didn't need.
That sequencing actually makes sense. Prove longevity works on real everyday people first, then that becomes your case study and credibility for the coach offer, not the other way around. So practically stage one is just nailing pre-season's messaging around the wound we just built. The goal was never the goal. Awareness first, then the solution reveal is training for longevity, not a finish line. Once you've got graduates who can point to that shift as real, that's your proof for stage two, the coach's product, where the pitch becomes, your clients keep coming back empty after transformation. Here's the system that fixes that. Does splitting it that way prove it on individuals first, then package it for coaches second, match what you're picturing?
We're getting there. And so I think that it would be important from an education perspective, because coaches are going to spend more time and interest and attention on deeper content. I don't know how many everyday people are going to stumble across even this video and be like, wow, that's something I really needed to hear. Whereas I think that if we were to keep, or maybe, again, I don't know, this is why I'm asking, but do I need to have this stuff blended into the YouTube for the everyday people? Or can I just start speaking to the coaches and trust that the value will come to them once they just maybe find the channel, once they watch a few videos and start to see some of the free content out there, so that they can reframe the things that they actually need to be coaching?
Honestly, I don't think you need to choose. Coaches are starving for real thinking, and they'll dig through everyday person content to find it. That's basically how Nippard and Curran built their coach followings without ever speaking to coaches directly. So keep the hook human and relatable. You got the body and it wasn't enough. And let the depth underneath be coach grade rigorous. Everyday people feel seen by the hook. Coaches recognize the substance, and stick around for the framework, same video, two audiences self-selecting by how deep they go. Does that resolve the split for you? Or you still feel like coaches need their own dedicated content?
Maybe, but maybe not. But how could I think that then this starts to frame it as just like the coaches that want to understand how to coach clients the way that I do will self-select, rather than trying to advertise to all coaches in general. It's saying, here is a system, here is a philosophy, and saying, if you are interested in learning what this actually looks like, rather than individual pieces, which is all you get on YouTube anyway, from everyone, rather than looking at those individual pieces, we can say, here's the entire framework. If you are interested in like learning more and learning the system and becoming a coach of such a model, and then the everyday people probably would ignore that CTA in general. And they would probably, maybe they would go down the route of being the client and saying, well, I actually want to be a beneficiary of this process.
Exactly, that's the self-selection mechanism working properly. The everyday person watching sees the philosophy and thinks, I want this done to me. So they click into pre-season. The coach watching the same video sees the same philosophy and thinks, I want to learn how to do this. So they click into a completely different offer, maybe call it something like a mentorship or certification down the line. Same content, same channel, no separate messaging needed. The CTA just splits people by which side of the fence they're standing on. That actually sounds like it answers the question you walked in with.
Yeah, I think we're getting there. So with that in mind, with this acknowledgement that we are hoping that coaches self-select themselves into becoming someone who wants to learn the actual processes behind things, so therefore we actually are focusing on the everyday people component, then what way should I start to deliver my content on YouTube? And then, I guess putting YouTube videos out in a way that can be edited down into shorts for Instagram or other short form content platforms, then how can we start to deliver the messaging in a way that helps people understand this long-term approach? Where should we start this content of painting the picture?
I'd start with the wound video first, the one we just built. You got the body and it wasn't enough because that's your strongest hook and it sets up everything else as the answer to that pain. Then follow it with the RCTA breakdown, weak links, mobility, conditioning, confidence, as the actual mechanics of why transformations stall, since that's already scripted and ready to go. After that, the After 30 video works perfectly as proof this isn't abstract. It's what happens in real bodies over time. So the order is basically name the wound, explain the mechanism, then prove it with a real life stage, and each one naturally clips down into shorts because you're always circling back to that same core feeling. Want me to help sketch how the wound video specifically opens and flows?
No, I don't think we need to get into specifics. But if I was to open a gym in the next year, and until then, I probably need to do 6 months of focusing on the creation and improvement and sale and marketing and revision, and also the review of the initial online product for everyday people. And then I also need to be developing the coach's side of development where, basically they, I guess, build the systems and the different elements of what a coach's course will look for. So we'll look into that because I've already done a lot of coaching education for coaches and I've run paid courses and stuff already. So I just need to basically cement down what that curriculum looks like, then flow into, I guess that would flow into like what we're talking about and just have those systems solidified so that people understand what a seasonal approach to people's training is. Because again, I think the coach's role is not to just transform, but like I wish that I had someone on my back saying, hey bro, how you doing? Like, are you enjoying the thing that you're doing at the moment? Or is it time that we look at tweaking something because the plan's not working right now, and if we're not adhering to the plan, then it's a shit plan. So let's try and change the plan a little bit. Or are you slowly realizing that the thing that you wanted is not the thing that you actually want anymore because of the lessons that you've learned along the way of becoming who you are now?
Right, so that's basically your 6-month roadmap. Tighten and prove the everyday people offer. Build out the coach curriculum in parallel, since you've already got the raw material from past courses. Then open the gym once both systems are validated. That gym-coach relationship you just described, the ongoing, is this still what you want check-in, that's honestly your whole philosophy in one sentence. Is the 6-month sequencing itself what you're unsure about, or were you just thinking out loud there?
No, I was thinking out loud a little bit, but I definitely need to solidify the online intake process because I really want to give someone something great when they first walk into the business. So having something great for free, having something great as like, here's the things that you really need to understand, and here's a process and program that you can use that will give you great results before you even like think about going down the route of coaching, before you even go down the route of like really looking at the long-term game, like introducing the philosophy of getting the basics of all of your physical health development down before you look at specialization. Because it's so overlooked. And I would have thought that this is basic personal trainer education that everyone would do with their clients, but it's just not what happens.
That's basically your 27-day email course, and pre-season doing exactly that job already. Free content proves the philosophy works. Pre-season delivers the fundamentals before anyone's allowed to specialize. So is the gap you're feeling that those two things exist but aren't clearly sequenced yet? Or that the content inside them still needs rebuilding around this new longevity, not transformation wound we've been mapping out?
Yeah, well, I think that I've often talked about, I feel like I've got all these different little things in place and they're just not connected right now. And the courses I've done have helped me build these individual pieces to what I'm trying to put together in this puzzle. And I've got these really complex, nice puzzle pieces that I've spent a long time writing out the different layers to. But in terms of having it really clear of how one would join the email listing for, or even understanding that someone like the free thing can just be emails, and understanding that that is good enough for people to start thinking different. And I think that helping people just reframe their basic beliefs about what they're trying to achieve in the gym, having a chain of 27 emails like I've talked about probably is a really good idea. And so I feel as though that would be a really good free product for everyday people once they get started. And like amongst that, sure, obviously the next step would be going into the paid version where it's rather than just like beliefs and reframing of philosophies, it's like, here's the actionable steps, that this is what it looks like when you start to look after yourself holistically. It's not just 3 sets of 8 to 12. It's understanding the bigger picture and how you need to just keep chipping away at these little things. And then when you find something that you're passionate about, you can run like the wind towards getting as good as you can, knowing that your health is not going to hold you back.
Right, so the puzzle actually snaps together cleanly. 27 days of emails reframes the beliefs. It's not about the six-pack, it's about never letting health hold you back. Then pre-season is where belief becomes action, the actual holistic groundwork before anyone's allowed to chase a passion project or a specialization. That's not scattered pieces anymore, that's a funnel with a clear job at each stage. Does that feel like the answer's finally clicked, or is there still a loose thread bugging you?
No, I think we're getting really close. I think we're
Good, I'm glad it's clicking. Sounds like you've actually got your answer now. Wound first, philosophy through email, action through pre-season, everyday people and coaches, self-selecting off the same content. Anything else you want to chase down, or are you good for now?
Nah, fuck it. Let's call it there. Thanks, boss. We'll, same time next week?
Ha! Sounds good. Same time next week. Good session, Lackey. Catch you then.
Not bad.